back to Global Sunday's Decision Canada coverage. Senator Coles, as we were listening to the two of you talk about issues there, I think it would seem to our viewers at home that your policies are actually more of a natural fit with the Tory party anyway. Why have you been a Liberal senator for so long?
Well, because I subscribe to basic Liberal principles that have now been abandoned by this party, and I really believed that Mr. Martin was going to try to renew some of them. For example, a basic principle of liberalism has always been what they call control of the public purse. And as an alternative to that, what we've had in the news is a steady diet of mismanagement of millions and billions of dollars. And not only that, another liberal principle was the notion of ministerial responsibility, that in the instance, for example, of mismanagement of a department or misadministration, that a minister should resign. So you know, if you look at the major problems and the scandals of the last many years, firearms registry, HRDC, the sponsorship scandal, not a single minister has ever resigned. So I'll give you another example. A major liberal principle is the proper relationship between the judiciary, parliament, and cabinet. And this liberals have totally ignored all of this. And for example, that is why the current Liberal government is in the Supreme Court with a reference to the court and respect of marriage. When Mr. Martin adopted his position on marriage, he did not consult with backbenchers, members, or senators. So you know, I have gone at this because I truly believe this, and I would like to tell you that I served that party unstintingly and faithfully for many years, and I'm very devoted still to the memory of Mr. Trudeau. But I discovered quite some time ago that these liberal principles are not only not even well known, they're no longer even believed in. Now, I'd just like to answer a couple of other things that Mr.
Senator Coles, I would like you to do that too. I just want to pose the same question to Mr. Orchard, just to give him a chance to respond to that as well. I think our viewers would also, from what you've said before, be left with the impression that the Liberal Party would have been a more natural fit for you as well. How would you respond to that?
Well, I can tell you that Mr. Trudeau, who Senator Coles just mentioned, was one of the people who strongly urged me to step into the leadership race for the Progressive Conservative Party. He very much inspired me and encouraged me personally to do this. And Mr. Trudeau would be turning in his grave at the idea of supporting Stephen Harper's view of Canada, which is to give much more power to the provinces, dismantle the federal government, give this firewall around Alberta that he's talking about. Mr. Trudeau fought all his life for a strong, effective national government, and that's where I stand. And what I'm worried about is that people are going to be fed up and angry about what the Liberals are doing, and they're going to jump straight from there to Stephen Harper without knowing what Mr. Harper's all about. And it's going to be stepping into something much worse. And this is just what Joe Clark has said, that he's going to stick with the devil we know. And no one can accuse Mr. Clark of being a Liberal.
Well, let's get the Senator to respond to that. Do you think Trudeau would be disappointed with you?
No. Mr. Trudeau died disagreeing with most of what the Liberal Party was doing. I'll give an example. You know, something like the Clarity Bill, where the Liberal government and its members passed a bill which I oppose, essentially allowing the dismemberment of a country. Well, you know, that is unheard of in constitutionalism. And to continue this sort of deconstruction of Canada, I'll give you another example. Just a few months ago, Liberals passed a bill which repeals the need for civil servants to take the oath of allegiance. So, you know, the truth of the matter is that so much has been going on. The average member of the public has no real way or means of obtaining this information. But I want you to know the Liberal Party has strayed very far. And the Liberal Party was supposed to be a centrist party. It's not supposed to be a party out there, you know, advocating radical ideas. So whether it's homosexual marriage or whatever it is, the Liberal Party has severed itself from its roots and from its membership.
But Mr. Archer,
I can tell you, the Liberal Party has become one of hegemony.
Comment on Senator Coles' first comment about the Clarity Act, saying that that was a flawed piece of legislation. That's something that the new party that she's joined, the Tory party, supports.
Well, the Liberal Party introduced it, and I spoke to Mr. Trudeau shortly before his death specifically about the Clarity Act, and I can tell you that he supported what Mr. Chrétien did. But, you know, I'm concerned about people not knowing enough about what Stephen Harper stands for, and that's why I've written an article which is on my website, davidorchard.com, and I spell out some of the background of what we can expect with a Harper government. And we talk about radical ideas. This new Harper agenda is far far more radical than what you're going to see from Mr. Harper. It's essentially the right wing of the Republican Party. And if we want to have an independent and sovereign nation, we're not going to have it with Mr. Harper. He hasn't seen an American policy yet that he doesn't like, and he isn't ready to simply adopt.
Senator, Mr. Orchard, there's a ring of bitterness to what you're saying, and it's all pointed directly at Mr. Harper, and it's very personal, and it leaves me a little suspicious.
Senator
I'd just like to say that. I would like to say that.
Hold on, Mr. Orchard, just let Senator Coles make a point here.
You know, I would like to say to you, that Mr. Harper comes to this process well supported in his part of the world, all through Alberta and Western Canada, and I have a problem with the notion that only an Easterner can be a prime minister, and I know I have a lot of support through Western Canada and in Alberta, and I think, quite frankly, you're sounding, maybe you don't intend to, but there's a ring of bitterness.
Is it sour grapes, Mr. Orchard? Is it sour grapes?
And I'm just saying to you,
Senator Coles, if you can let me reply,
sure.
There's nothing bitter about me at all, and there's been nothing personal. I've outlined specific policies that Mr. Harper is going to follow, and we talk about Mr. Harper being well supported. He's well supported by the little group around him with no accountability. There's been no convention in that party. You're going to get a shock when you go to your first convention, but take a look at who.
Hold on, one at a time. One at a time.
One at a time. Senator, I'd like to finish the point. Take a look at the people around Mr. Harper. Look at Dr. Tom Flanagan. Look at his position. Look what he brings. Look at the backing that Mr. Harper has had for many years. I live in the West. You're talking about Westerners. I'm a Western Canadian farmer. I'm the 100th anniversary of my farm here in Saskatchewan. I'm rooted here. I know what these people are all about.
I just want to pose one last question to Senator Coles. Wouldn't people think it's a bit suspicious, the timing of you leaving the Liberal Party right in the middle of an election?
No, there's been very little suspicion about me. Remember, I have a long track record, and I've had a long history of disagreement with the Liberal Party. But I must tell you that because of the nature of my work, which is largely divorce, families, these kinds of issues, I tend to work very closely to what I would call Jean and Joe Public. And I want you to know that most Canadians are not lawyers and doctors and professionals earning fat salaries. Most Canadians are, cashiers, waitresses, truckers, carpenters, and so on. And these ordinary people out there live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And, for the last many months, they have had a steady diet of waste and mismanagement of huge sums of money, quantums that they can't even comprehend. Right. And, I believe that's a pathology, and I don't think it's right. And not a single minister ever resigned. So I'm saying to you, why now? Why now was because I came to the decision, now's a couple of weeks ago. I came to the decision then, and once I came to the decision, I thought I had to take action. And there's another factor, too.
We'll hear a bit more about that. I bet you could go. Sure. We do just have to take a final break. We do just have to take one final break. Yes. Final thoughts from our panel when we return, and some comments from you when we're back in 2 minutes.